Scenarios in The Sims 4, they began as a flop. I will be brutally honest about that, but over time they have actually become a lot more refined, and I'm not the hater you all think I am. There are actually a lot of different scenarios now, and I did the stuck in their shadow scenario. Nova Curious was once the best programmers in college, and nothing will stop her from shining at a new job. Well, someone might. Lewis, top programmer in her class who overshadowed her during their uni years. Now that she wants to start her professional life, there's no way she'll bump into him again, right? I really like that this scenario started with a pre-made sim, but you can choose any house to live in. The sim already had skills and unique traits, which made her actually feel really unique. The guy that she's in rivalry with is in the social panel, and after talking with him, it made her feel really angry. And then some objectives popped up in the top left corner about controlling my anger. The scenario actually felt really natural and responsive, and I feel like it guides you down the right path with what to do, but also gives you open-ended options. There are even some random things, like there was a task to lock my computer so other people couldn't use it. The scenarios had goals at work like aspirations, in that they're a little bit tutorial-y, but it feels a lot more natural and progressive than the aspiration ones. It really is definitely tutorial, and that's because I picked a beginner level difficulty one, and it felt suited for newer players, with the scenario prompting me to do things like buying a new bed with a better comfort rating. It did have some good ones, like it asked me to purchase a voodoo doll, which I could use to punish this guy in the story. But across the board, it was basically a tutorial. As a professional simmer, what a crazy thing to say. I'm a professional simmer. One of my favorite Sims things on YouTube is Chelsea Impeachment, when she does those thumbnails. Professional simmer plays The Sims Medieval for the first time. I find it so funny. Professional simmer. Well, that's what I am. I play The Sims for a living. Anyway, as a professional simmer, I did find it a little bit dull, and I completed it very quickly, but it is a beginner's one, so I'm not holding it against the scenario, but it's more so just me. So I actually went to a different scenario. It is called The Unlucky Chef. A sim is certain their destiny is to become a world famous chef. There's just one little problem. This sim is way more likely than most people to accidentally start fires whilst cooking. Although with this hard level scenario, I actually found it boring, and that's because there weren't any goals, weren't any subtasks. If anything, the harder one was easier because it involved a lot less to do. Right now, Sims 4 scenarios are not it, I'll be honest. The reason why I don't like most of them is because they require you to create a sim yourself. One of the most, the single-handed most exhausting thing about playing The Sims 4 is every single time you click new game, you have to create an entire new household. You can't just jump straight into the world. The scenarios which actually have households to play with, like the ones at the top, the welcome scenarios, these actually just chuck you straight into the game with a pre-made household. And I really think that they should make harder scenarios with pre-made townies. I think it would work so well. And I think the hardest scenarios should have a lot more tasks to do, and they should be a lot more in-depth and have a lot more different kind of social events happening, because when I played that beginner scenario, honestly, it felt really similar to The Sims 2. It felt like The Sims 2 story events taking place, and there is so much more that they could do with scenarios. Right now, scenarios are just like, get a good job, do your skills, rags to riches, make money. But what if they actually make like storyline scenarios, like a scenario where you follow a set story, and what path you choose has different consequences? You know, let's say there's a scenario where your husband's cheating on your wife, and the wife finds out, and you've got two choices: to repair the relationship and stay with your family, or have the relationship dissolve and you have to move out to a different house. And maybe you lose your job because your workplace finds out and they don't like it. Like, there's so many different paths that you can go down with a scenario that relate to storylines and drama. Scenarios don't just have to be rags to riches, they can be a lot more than that. I also think there should be a complete section here, so if you complete one, that it would come up as a completed thing with a check mark on it, so that it gives you a sense of achievement. They aren't it, to be honest, scenarios right now. They're not, they're boring, but they really do have the potential to be so great. Firstly, we need pack specific scenarios. If you own the werewolves pack, absolutely lovely, but imagine having the werewolves pack with a scenario centered around becoming a werewolf leader of the pack, one about getting in a fight with a rival pack, or having a secret romance with another werewolf in another pack. If you own Get to Work, there could be a scenario about an aspiring woodworker who dreams of selling their wooden craftables in a retail store, and you have different objectives leading up to that. There could also be, you know, like a rival retail store and you have to compete with them. Even with a stuff pack like Nifty Knitting, there could be a scenario about playing as a granny who forces her grandchildren to wear ugly knitted clothing. Like, there are so so many ways scenarios could be implemented into different packs. In my personal opinion, The Sims 4 is a little bit lackluster and it needs a bit more oomph to make it more exciting. In terms of how scenarios need to progress, I would genuinely love to see scenarios like the one I played, Stuck in Their Shadow, have a bit more storyline and depth implemented into harder scenarios. Sure, it's great as an easy mode scenario as a tutorial, but giving players tons of harder ones with tougher choices to make will make the game so much more fun and challenging, especially scenarios that have pre-made sims, because right now there are only 3, as I said, with pre-made townie households, and they're all easy. And I genuinely think having scenarios with tons of pre-made sims is relieving, because let's be honest, all of us, when we make sims in The Sims 4, we make the exact same sim over and over and over again, and we give them the exact same traits, and we always give them good, useful traits to make the game easier. But what if you're given a townie which has terrible traits, and they have conflicting likes and dislikes that you can't change? Having a sim handed to me with really awful traits would be a lot more fun and more challenging. I'd also love to see scenarios take on gameplay elements that a lot of people don't really play with all that often. You know, most people don't visit community lots or do certain things in community lots, but scenarios can inspire people to do those things more. And if they release scenarios for separate packs, they could use the scenarios to show you how to do different things in the game, the more kind of smaller features that not a lot of people know about. For example, with the eco lifestyle pack, a lot of people, including myself, genuinely don't know how the pack works because it's not that intuitive in terms of dealing with pollution. Imagine if there was 2 scenarios, one about cleaning up the environment and another one about making it significantly worse, and you could be a really evil person. I think that would be hilarious as a scenario. And adding scenarios for every pack, maybe an expansion pack has 3, game pack has 2, stuff pack has 1. This would honestly make every single pack feel a lot more in-depth and fun to play with, and it will give the game so much more replayability value. Because some of us, we open The Sims 4 and we're like, what do I do? I'm bored, I don't know what to do. If you have a scenario staring at you in the face, it gives you something good to do. But I just find the current scenarios are too open-ended, but they could be so much more. I really love the idea of scenarios. When they first came out, I did bitch about them. I will admit that I did, but they could do a lot with them. And recently the Sims team haven't been doing that much with them, but I think they need to really just refine it and make it really, really cool. And I think scenarios would be so great. I'll be honest, I'm also a little bit sick of kits in the way they are, and I'd love to see them improved. I don't actually hate kits that much. I think most of them are quite good. If you want to see how I think they should be improved, please check out this video here. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.